Welcome back to another video on Influential Sports, and I think it's really important to make this video based off of the questions I've been seeing, like one on Twitter, on Instagram. Anytime black people make history, it's always, why is race involved? What does it have to do with race? This and that. So I wanted to take the time to make this video, give some of my people a chance to get their thoughts and opinions out, and basically explain the significance of black excellence in sports and why it's important. Like, it's important that we have representation in sports, and not just from black people, but from all ethnicities and stuff like that. But for black people, it took them a long time to get through. Look at what Warren Moon had to do in the NFL. He had to go overseas and play football to grind his way to the NFL because it was a narrative that black people weren't intelligent enough to play quarterback. And it's still kind of a thing now because Jalen Milroe wasn't a lot of faith in him being the quarterback for Alabama. Lamar Jackson, he went to Louisville because of, instead of a team like Alabama, because they wanted him to be a receiver or a running back because they didn't think he was intelligent enough to play the position. So it's important that black quarterbacks are able to break through. That's why when Jalen Hurts and Mahomes meet each other in the Super Bowl, it's important to celebrate that because we haven't seen it before. When history is made, no matter what type of history it is, it's important that we celebrate it, especially if it's black history, not just because it's a black history, but because it's something we haven't seen before. It took black people forever to break through. Look at Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier for baseball, and now today you see more black people playing baseball because of Jackie Robinson. Look at what Serena and Venus Williams had to do. They had to endure racism and stuff at an early age because they got started with tennis at a young age, and they became two of the greatest female, well, not just female, but tennis players ever. And they definitely set a trend, and now they inspire younger black girls to want to be like them. Look at Gabby Douglas, Simone Biles, people like them in the women's gymnastics. Like when it was an all-black podium with it was Simone Biles, Rebecca Andrade, and Jordan Childs. That was going to be the first all-black podium in women's gymnastics history at the Olympics, and then it was taken away because of the stuff with Romania, and that I'm not going to get into that in this video. That's a topic for another day. But you've never seen that because women's gymnastics have been dominated by white women in the past, and people like like Simone Biles, she had to deal with racism. Jordan Childs, after she won the medal, she had to deal with racism because people felt like she didn't deserve it. People felt like they just wanted to push the agenda to have three black women up there, but it wasn't that. It was maybe that woman shouldn't have celebrated early. But like I said, we should not gonna get into that. Look at what Bill Russell and Wilt had to deal with. Bill Russell was winning championships for the Celtics and being called racial slurs consistently, and he was winning for their team. He was their best player, one of the greatest defensive players of all time, if not the greatest. So it's like, I think, and then even to get into wrestling, like The Rock being one of the first black WWE champion, because technically he's the first. They don't recognize him as that. They recognize Kofi as it. Won't really get into that. But even Kofi having that accomplishment, that's something that we should celebrate. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair main eventing WrestleMania. That's the biggest wrestling event of the year. Well, at least the biggest for WWE, especially in North America. So them main eventing as two black women, that's not something you've seen before. So it's a good thing that black people are breaking through because we've had to deal with racism, had to deal with harsh comments. We're told we aren't intelligent enough to play this certain position in football. Had to deal with stereotypes and this and that. Like, that's been a constant thing. And that's why it's important when we celebrate black history, because without it, there wouldn't be a lot of history. Like, why do you think there's a Black History Month? Why do you think we celebrate black people for what they do? Look at what all these civil rights activists and stuff had to go through so black people could get a chance and black people could be where they are now. And even Muhammad Ali, like, he's one of the greatest basketball of all time. Look at what he was able to do. I'm not going to be able to get into every sport in this video, but black people breaking through is a good thing, and it's important that we celebrate and really acknowledge the significance of black excellence in sports, because it's helped to advance the game. Like, without guys like Bill Russell or Wilt, we don't get the Kareems, the MJs, the LeBrons that come after that. Without Gabby Douglas, you don't get Simone Biles, and without Simone Biles, you don't get Jordan Childs. And these women are putting their body on the lines, entertaining us in the gymnastics, but also trying to have fun with it. And that's one of those sports that can take a career away if you land wrong or something like that. So black people are making history every day. We do have Black History Month, but black people make history every day, and that's my take on it. I think it's important that we celebrate it, I don't think it's necessarily this, oh, we're just trying to make it about race. It's, you haven't seen it before. It's history being made by black people, and what, and they have to deal with so much in such hard times. So it's like, it's important that we celebrate these types of things. I went over the time that I really wanted to. It was shorter than my first version, but like I said, stay here, watch the full video, really understand why me and my people think it's important that we celebrate the significance of black excellence in sports.
To answer Ed's question as to why I think it's significant to celebrate and share the history of black people in sports, it's simple in the most objective ways possible in my journalistic point of view. It simply won't uh, tell the entire story of sports. I mean, and world history. I mean, sports is a microcosm of society in those current times. I mean, we can go back to the Negro Leagues of baseball. For a while. Um, that wasn't shared for a while. And look at the significance of that. A lot of the players who were the first pioneers of integration in the MLB came from those leagues, and we were later to find out. Then you go into the NBA, looking in the first days, first years of that league, they didn't have, they were segregated. Um, Football, we already know how physical that sport is, and the culture with that, and you add racism into that. So um, I think it's important for sure in that respect. Um, and then we go into gender with the WNBA, crossing barriers with that as well, even more so today. So I think it's just important to celebrate the significance of black people in sports simply because it doesn't tell the entire story of sports.
The significance of black people in sports. Why is it significant? Because there was a time in history where black people weren't even able to play these sports. All sports. And if they were, they weren't deemed worthy enough to play with people outside of the ones who looked like them. There were so many barriers that needed to be broken, and so many gaps that needed to be bridged, and it took strong, close to indestructible people, black people with hearts of steel, to endure the abuse, the struggle that they needed to endure, the scrutiny that they needed to endure in order to make history and break these barriers for the generations to come. And even today, there are barriers that were just broken in the past 10 years. The first black person to do this in sports, the first black person to win that championship or that title, and so on and so forth. The fact that we still can break barriers to give that hope to the youth, to see that person that made that history and say, I can do that too in this sport. That is why black people are significant in sports.